The MuesliSwap team continuously deliver new and exciting things to the Cardano blockchain and the ecosystem in general. And recently, they've delivered a brand new decentralized exchange on Milkomeda itself. I have Samuel and Chris on the episode here to talk all about the exchange, their launch, why they did it, and a couple of other really cool things about it. We also talk about future plans and what they have in store for us too, which is really, really exciting. Now, if you really enjoy this type of content, please consider giving me a thumbs up, click subscribe, click the notification bell, and you hear more from me real soon. But let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
Thank you guys so much for joining me again. You guys have been extremely busy, but yes, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so like I said, you guys have been busy. You've been building out all these new cool features on your current MuesliSwap DEX for Cardano, but now you've also launched on Milkomeda, which is absolutely amazing. So I wanted to dig into this and find out exactly what the process was like, why you went ahead and did this. So first off, let's start with that. Why did you guys want to go ahead and build this out on Milkomeda?
So we've previously said that our main goal is to provide the best all-inclusive experience for our users. And for that reason, it was inevitable as soon as we heard about Milkomeda that we also want to launch a DEX on there. So it makes it possible for users to also swap their tokens there and then use their Ethereum or Ether, for example, and swap it. And that was basically the main motivation why we really wanted to also release a DEX on there to give our users the maximum flexibility.
I think maybe two key selling points you could add this. One is, for example, you can now already trade stable coins. So what we don't really have on Cardano yet is, for example, that you can trade Bitcoins or any other stable coin like USDC or USDT. And all these things are already possible on Milkomeda, which is very nice because it's kind of EVM compatible, meaning that Ethereum smart contracts run on it. You also see that a lot of bridges already deployed. That makes it possible to bring assets from Ethereum, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and so on onto Milkomeda. And the second thing is also that it's much faster at the moment. So on Cardano mainnet, you see the kind of congestion. So it roughly takes sometimes even more than 30 minutes to do a transaction from one wallet to another. And of course, that also influences the user experience on our DEX. And on Milkomeda right now, you can do a swap in, let's say, 2 or 3 seconds, also with much lower fees. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to launch.
And that kind of user experience is, what people are dying for. Like when some of the other DEXs first initially launched on Cardano, the wait times were, oh my God, I just remember recording some of the videos that I did, and it was about 20 minutes per transaction. So I'll be recording at 11 o'clock at night, waiting for a transaction to go through so I can continue recording. So it was quite painful. So yeah, this is incredibly a lot faster. Now, why is it faster? Why does Milkomeda allow us to have these transactions so much faster than what Cardano is at the moment?
Okay, so I think there are probably 2 reasons. One is the underlying model is kind of different. So on Cardano, we have this UTXO model, which means that in theory, it can actually be much, much faster than the account-based model on Ethereum. But right now, the parameters that IOHK is basically setting, they're kind of conservative. So as we know, they are having a lot of plans this year to scale. And I think at the end, it will probably be comparable or even much faster when Hydra is coming in. But right now, I think one reason is that the underlying model is different. And the other one is that kind of Cardano is used as the layer 1 model, which needs to have a lot more security mechanisms and so on than the layer 2 model on Milkomeda. So I think the validators applied on Milkomeda, they're also like a much smaller number than all the stake pools you run on Cardano. These are some of the reasons.
Yeah, it also spreads all the users. So, I mean, therefore, it's much less congested.
Oh, yes, that's very true. I heard there's only about 32 validators on the Milkomeda network. So it's tiny compared to what's on Cardano at the moment.
I mean, the model is also different in the sense that you have gas fees. So I can also pay more. That kind of my transaction is getting preferred, which we don't really have on Cardano right now.
So what was the experience like in in regards to actually deploying this and getting it out in Milkomeda? Like, I know you guys had all that experience when you did the Bitcoin Cash smart chain DEX, the very first one that you guys did. So was it a very similar experience? Was it a lot of the knowledge ported over from that to what you did on Milkomeda?
It was a quite similar experience. So in fact, that helped us a lot to get started, and also to know about the contracts, and then know about liquidity pools and automated market makers. All of that helped us tremendously to just get it done, and the basic infrastructure. But then, of course, we had to adjust it to Milkomeda and adjust it to all the different tokens we want to provide there, the pools for the tokens. So there was still quite some stuff left, some of the details left that we had to adjust. But yeah, the knowledge that we could build on helped us a lot.
So what were some of the technical challenges when deploying on Milkomeda itself?
So I think one of the issues is, for example, that we want to have a good user experience. So users need to understand that there is both the mainnet DEX and the Milkomeda DEX. So how to interact, basically how to integrate both into one platform, so to say. And another thing, which will first probably be rolled out next week, is that you can basically bring all your Cardano tokens to Milkomeda as well. So we will have some challenge there explaining as well that you can basically trade it on mainnet, and you will be able to trade it on Milkomeda, and what basically the ups and downs are. So maybe one thing considering when you're building is also kind of the user experience and how to educate people what the difference basically is.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize you guys are doing that. So I'll be able to move all my assets over to Milkomeda from the Cardano mainnet. But then did you say also do swaps from the Cardano version of the DEX over to Milkomeda?
So right now not, but I think the long-term goal of Milkomeda is that there's going to be kind of wrapped smart contracts, meaning that I can basically interact from mainnet with the liquidity pools on Milkomeda and receive basically the assets back on mainnet. So this is coming.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. I don't have like kind of an estimated time of arrival or something, because we're kind of still waiting for Milkomeda. But what is going to happen very, very soon is that you can, for example, also wrap Milk and bring it to the side chain. So we kind of have trading of all the different Cardano assets on both DEXs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that whole thing about wrapping smart contracts is also like really going to help more developers to get into developing dApps for Cardano, because one main challenge, main difficulty for many has been getting into Haskell and Plutus and developing smart contracts there. So if you can use Solidity, so many developers have already experience in that, and it's much easier to get started with. So we hope that this is also like really going to get more developers into Cardano.
It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
I think actually we already see this kind of flood of developers coming, because I know, for example, now in Milkomeda, someone is already kind of building a yield aggregator that he also deploys on other blockchains. And then there's, for example, also some other dApps that's going to launch very soon on Milkomeda that basically also, for example, run on Ethereum, and they just say, I want to expand to a new chain. And I guess bringing all these things to Plutus and so on is kind of a lot of work. But now it's more for them to like come and deploy it again, which is very nice. That's also why we at least have already kind of 4 bridges on Milkomeda. So this is very cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So you're seeing all the developers coming in and all these other projects coming, which is absolutely awesome. So are you seeing many users on the Ethereum side or Binance Smart Chain moving assets over at the moment? Are you seeing a lot of Ethereum coming in?
Yes, actually we do, because I saw that we actually also appeared in some Ethereum yield farming guides and all these things. And I think that helped for people to, for example, come in with stable coins. Because if I would say I'm only a Cardano user, I don't own any wrapped Bitcoin or any wrapped Ether or whatever, but we've seen like millions of millions being deposited in our DEX. So I assume that a lot of it is also coming from other blockchains. Yes.
Ooh, this is what we're all hoping for, all this liquidity from these other chains, which is just sitting there. They're looking for new opportunities and coming in through MuesliSwap on the Milkomeda. That's awesome. That's the kind of thing that we were after. In terms of security and security audits and all that, what have you guys done at the moment for all this?
Okay, so I mean, basically, we can mainly speak for our DEX on Milkomeda. And for that one, for the smart contracts, these are pretty similar to the smart contracts you're used from Uniswap and PancakeSwap already. So these have been audited already and have been in use for quite some time. But we are also looking into getting the audited again, in the very near future.
So our contracts have already, for example, been used on CowSwap, and there we already got an audit. And now, so they're basically audited, and also the router and the factory, which are kind of the base, they're really one-to-one the same as you also see in the Uniswap V2 protocol. So they kind of already have billions being traded, like swapped over them. But we are gonna we are currently like in talks with either PackShield or Certic to get an additional audit to have even more security.
Just in case, it's always good to get that extra, tick of approval. Even though, like you said, it's being used so much already in other ecosystems. It's nice to know that your own implementation of it is done right.
The smart contracts we're using, they're also open source, so you can also go in. We also have a tool that you can actually compare it to Uniswap and see that it's basically the same. We also have one that, for example, checks that the deployed contracts are the same as the ones we have in our repository and so on. So we're kind of trying our best so that people can also verify on their own that it's correct, if you have the ability to do that, of course.
Yes. I do like the approach of having all of it open source so people can actually see it and verify it for themselves if they can. There's other risks with using DEX, and I think a lot of people in the Cardano ecosystem, for the very first time, they're jumping into DeFi and playing around with things, and impermanent loss is always a risk for users coming into and providing liquidity on these decentralized exchanges. Impermanent loss is still a risk on the new DEX on Milkomeda, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. As you also see on the Cardano mainnet DEX is deployed right now, it's always a risk. So what we are trying to do is that we, if you don't really know what impermanent loss is, so speaking to all users, please first check some guides. They're very, very good guidance online. For example, Binance, they have this academy where they have very good blog posts and videos explaining what impermanent loss is. So if you provide liquidity, you should really first kind of understand what you're doing. I mean, in some sense, I'm taking in the role of what a professional market maker is doing in a centralized stock exchange in some sense. So if I'm providing liquidity, I should also really understand what's actually happening in the background, or not just go in because I see that I'm going to get a lot of yield farming rewards or something like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that do come in are attracted to the yield farming rewards, and they get excited about it, and they see the numbers, 10,000% return, or, even 200% return. That sounds really appealing. So people got to understand that there is a huge risk in regards to all that as well.
Yeah, kind of the idea behind these rewards, and also the swapping fee I pay when a person swaps, there's basically a fee that's put into the liquidity pools. And the idea is kind of that these fees and the rewards, they kind of offset the risk you're facing, but that might not always be true, especially if you have pairs with high volatility. So
how are you guys going with getting the liquidity onto the DEX? Like some other DEXs, they do liquidity bootstrapping and getting large amounts of liquidity in there. Are you just relying on the community at the moment, or do you have like large holders that are moving in and providing liquidity?
So, I mean, for now, it's basically only been stable coins and Bitcoin and so on. So there, it took like 2 hours and you already had a few million in each pair deposited, because it was, for once the bridge is coming in, and for the other one, kind of Ethereum people that already hold these coins. And now when we talk about adding Cardano projects, yes, then we need to look a little bit into how to bootstrap it.
Right,
I guess
It's crazy, like within 2 hours, all that started flooding in. The news must have gotten out and people were really excited to jump in and move their assets over. Are you finding, are you engaging within your community new people that are coming from Ethereum themselves? Like are people joining your Discord, and you're finding that they're actual ETH maxis even, like jumping in and trying it out?
I mean, I cannot say so much about basically the people joining, but I know that, for example, some people joined. They said that I have a lot of assets on Avalanche and I actually want to bring them to Cardano and so on. So there are for sure some people that come and really enjoy the fact. But I'm not. What I can't say is if they're already, for example, Cardano users, but they also just have assets on other blockchains they want to bring in, or is it really new people coming in? That's what we are kind of trying to understand right now, so that we also know where to move marketing, how to advertise our DEX and so on. But I can't give a definitive answer right now.
Gotcha. I guess now you can start targeting different chains and asking them, not asking, but essentially marketing towards them to bring liquidity over. A lot of people in the Cardano ecosystem, when they're trying out this new DEX for the first time, it's very different. It's a very I have to say it's a clunky user experience. You have to swap from one wallet to another using Metamask on one side and Flint wallet on the other side, for example. Can you talk through the general workflow that a user has to go through to use the DEX at the moment? And we'll take it from a point of view as a Cardano user that's used to even Yoroi, and now they have to move over to like Flint wallet.
Yeah, so as a Cardano user, you basically send your ADA to Flint Wallet, and then you can tick on Flint Wallet. When you send your ADA there, you can tick a little box which says send to Metamask address, for example. So before that, you have, of course, to install Metamask and then select the Milkomeda network there. But then you can send it directly from the Flint Wallet to Metamask, and it will get wrapped for you. And then once you're on Metamask, you're good to go. You can just connect to your wallet on our start swapping.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that hard when you explain it that way. It's just one extra little send point that you have to do from Flint over to Metamask, and you're basically on the network as it is. There is a little bit of setup that you need to do on Metamask at first, but it's pretty basic after that.
So one thing you should maybe not forget is on Cardano, we kind of have these native tokens, which means that if someone sends a token to my wallet, it's already presented either in Yoroi or on CC Vault or whatever you're using. But in MetaMask, the wallet itself does not really know these tokens. So what you have to do is, for example, if I do a swap, there always appears a button on our website, which is, for example, says add to MetaMask. And you have to press this add to button so that the wallet actually knows your coins. So if I do a swap and it doesn't show it in my wallet, it doesn't mean that the tokens are gone. It just means I first need to add them to MetaMask, basically.
Okay. So don't panic.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be a lot of people panicking when they do a swap and thinking something went completely wrong. So I'll highlight those in the tutorials and guidelines. Okay, so on the MuesliSwap DEX over on Milkomeda, there's also a new thing that I saw there, and it was called Myield. And could you explain what this is and what you're trying to do with it?
So basically, this is just the farming token that you get for providing liquidity. You can provide the liquidity and then farm as you're used it from Uniswap, for example, or other automated market maker DEXs. And this is the token that you get as a reward for doing that. And
this Myield token, it's kind of connected to Milk. So let's explain it like this. In the beginning, we wanted to give yield farming rewards, but it's not really possible to give Milk on Milkomeda due to technical reasons. So we had to do this kind of token in between, which you can, in some sense, transform into Milk. And the idea is kind of that I earn these Myield, and when I have 100 of them, I can transform them into Milk. That's kind of the more or less. There are some minor details to it. We have some guides that explain it and also some infographics, but kind of the general idea is that you can transform them back to Milk, because as I said, it was technically simply not possible to directly give out Milk as a yield farming reward on Milkomeda.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why the Myield is there, because you can't give out the Milk tokens directly. Okay. And I do like that conversion over, because a lot of people are holding the Milk token at the moment. They're trying to gain a little bit more as a governance token on the platform. So being able to get that and convert it back is pretty cool. But is the Myield token still a governance token for the Milkomeda side of things, or is it working the same way?
So the basic idea is that people also have liquidity pools on mainnet soon. And you always earn Myield, either on mainnet or on Milkomeda. And Milk should be the governance token of both DEXs. So it's not like we will have a new governance token. It's basically just an intermediate layer you can transform into Milk if you want to, or sell it directly.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Totally understood. I'm sure if I was confused about that, there'll be other people that are confused about that as well.
Okay, yeah, we will. I already got some feedback. We are currently trying to make some more graphics and some more explanation videos.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also, we've explained it also in the docs. And if you're unsure, you can always look it up there. And if it's not there, then we should really add it. So then our people should contact us. But this is also explained in our documentation as well.
So in terms of people asking questions, and with this whole launch and something so new, what has been the biggest questions and stumbling blocks that people have been having? So for anyone that's watching this interview and wanting to use the DEX, what are the top things that they should know and understand before jumping in?
So the main question we are getting right now is basically, how can I transfer? Okay, so if I bring my ADA from Cardano mainnet to Milkomeda, I at some point maybe also want to bring them back from Milkomeda to Cardano mainnet, and that's one of the question we get the most. How can I transform them back? And I know that the Milkomeda team they will have a bridge back, and there's already a link going around in the internet with a bridge that apparently is already working up to some ADA limit, but it's not officially announced yet. So one of the main questions we get is, how can I transfer my Milk ADA, that's how the base currency is called on Milkomeda, back into ADA on Cardano mainnet? And I think this is like one of the main questions we get. And I would just say, be patient. It's probably a couple of days, and then Milkomeda will also do an official guide on that.
Okay. That's probably something pretty important to know, that there isn't a straightforward way to bring it back, especially if you want to be staking or bring your ADA back before the snapshot, so you can get it on your stake pool and staked, so that you can get the rewards there. So probably really important to know that bit. Is there anything else that's coming up that people should know about?
So what people should definitely know about, or what many of our users have also been looking forward to, is our version 2, which we are working full-time on at the moment, and which we will also release very soon. This will also allow, as Chris previously said, to have liquidity pools on mainnet, and we will also have partial matches, such that you do not have to match like a whole order, a set amount, but that you can as you would like to order every amount you want to have. So this will I think really increase the experience, the user experience, and the fluency and of interacting with our DEX.
I think so too. I'm really looking forward to that. Did you have a date for that when you are trying to push it out?
So we have a first version of version 2 on testnet, which allows partial matches and all these things. So we have so what we had in version 1 was kind of this order book where the order sizes had to match and all these things. And now you build this base order book that allows partial matches and all these things. And this basically base order book, it has already been audited by MLabs. And now it can be seen as kind of the basic infrastructure. We also want to roll out to mainnet very soon, I guess next week or maybe the week after. And then based on this basic infrastructure, we will allow multiple things like adding liquidity pools. And that's also one thing we're working on right now. So we will probably first have this basic smart contract that just allows matching of basically open orders into each other. And then the next thing we are going to add is the liquidity pools into this order book. And I hope that we can also roll them out in the next few weeks.
You guys like to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, but it's what we are looking into right now is basically an audit for the automated market maker, basically, or the liquidity pools on mainnet that will come as an addition. And once we have that, then we will also be able to roll that out to people.
Okay, cool. I do like your iterative approach when you're just rolling out one little thing at a time, as opposed to rolling out the entire set of features, so people can get used to it. I guess it gets a little bit more testing as well, especially on testnet, so people can give you feedback along the way. So I do like that approach that you guys are taking.
it also really helps us in the sense, as you said, we can always collect feedback, and then we also do not get the continuous question when, but we can always kind of roll out a little bit, and then we show how it works, and then we can get feedback before rolling out the next thing. So yeah, we're also very happy with that approach.
And I love this new feature that you guys brought out. I did a video on it last week, and it's that instant swaps and then the limit swaps, and it's connecting to other DEXs. What on earth is this? How did you guys get this all working? That's a really cool feature. I absolutely loved it. I have to admit, when I first saw it on Twitter, I thought, yeah, okay, it's just a swap interface. But like when you actually play with it, it's like really, it was tapping into the other DEXs. How did you guys do this?
So maybe what does it mean to tap into other DEXs? So basically, they're all just smart contracts on the blockchain. And also the other DEXs, they just have a front end that helps you basically construct a transaction to interact with the smart contracts. And what we basically do is we just have the different DEX smart contracts that are now running on mainnet. And we have kind of our own tools that look at the smart contracts, see what the prices are in these different smart contracts and so on. And when I now want to swap a certain quantity, it just checks basically all of them that are out for me and just chooses the cheapest one. That's kind of the basic idea behind it. And then when I interact, it doesn't really matter which website I use, because we are just constructing a transaction that you can use to interact with the decentralized smart contract.
That's really cool.
And yeah, then again, this also plays into our main philosophy to provide like the all-inclusive swapping or DEX experience, such that users don't really like have to leave our website or swap and look into the others and compare the prices, but that you can see everything, charts, prices, all the main MuesliSwap website, and have all the functionality there.
That's what I'm finding with your website. Like if I'm using MinSwap, for example, I actually have MuesliSwap on another tab, which I'm flicking back to check price and price history. So I know what I'm swapping on the other DEX, but you guys are making it a little bit easier for me. That's really cool. And I'm pretty sure other people are doing the exact same thing as well.
I guess now with like 3 major DEXs out there, it still was possible, but I know that there will be probably in the future some more, and probably each has a very good price on a certain pair. So I guess once you maybe reach 10 or something, it makes even more sense, because then it's kind of impossible to tap through all of them and check the prices. So
crazy.
And where these features really come in to be cool.
Crazy.
Another thing that we are also going to launch very soon is limit swaps. So what we do right now is that you do the swap to the market price. But when we launch limit swap, you will basically be able to set a limit order to all the to all the Cardano smart contract DEXs that are out there. And then you can basically choose which pool you want to use, and then we set the limit for you, depending on that. That's also one feature that's going to be accessible through MuesliSwap, which we hope to roll out very, very soon as well.
Okay. When I set a limit order, do I have to choose a DEX, or will your script work out which one's best to execute based on the price that I set?
So we do some suggestion where you should probably place it. But in the case that you do a limit order, you should you get still the list with basically all the pools that are out there on Cardano mainnet, and then you choose it. Because sometimes if I do a big swap, it might be beneficial to choose the pool where a lot of liquidity is locked in. And if I do a small swap, it might be better to choose one with maybe a little bit less liquidity, because it's maybe more volatile in prices. And that's something we want to give to the user so he can choose, basically.
Okay. I could see it being used for people that are doing arbitrage trades quite easily. So you can flick back and forth, set prices, and set which DEX you want the orders through. So all through one interface, and then swapping across multiple different DEXs and liquidity pools across the entire network. That's insane, guys. That's really cool. It's an all-in-one encompassing interface to connect to them all. Okay, cool. That sounds really good. What I'm seeing here is a lot more of the features that you see on centralized exchanges being implemented on a decentralized exchange. So it makes that trader experience that people have had on the centralized exchanges even easier on what you guys are building, and being able to tap into different liquidity pools across different networks, all the way from Milkomeda all the way to whatever's on Cardano, is a really cool DeFi future that I don't think people really realize and know what's coming. So that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we are also really looking out for this. So what we also do compared to, for example, others, we have these charting, we have also information about the token where you can read up more and so on. So we are really trying to give like an experience to users so that they also can learn about new tokens and explore things and learn about new projects and so on. And I hope that we can continue rolling out more of these things in the future as well.
You guys are definitely working hard.
The biggest things that are coming up are basically V2 on mainnet together with liquidity pools, which is kind of the thing we are working on towards the last few months with the audits happening from MLab and all these things. And after that, we'll see what's coming next.
Okay. I feel like, your main focus has been V2 on mainnet, and then you just threw in this thing on Milkomeda on the side because you could. That's really what it felt like. You had the experience from Bitcoin Cash Smart Chain, and you just went, yeah, we can do that. That's easy.
We kind of saw that there is the need because of congestion, and also because there are not the stable coins and the Bitcoin and everything yet. So I think that's for us, it's just that we can really offer everything to the user, and that's why we decided to launch.
I'm really looking forward to the future of seeing stable coins move over from Ethereum to Milkomeda, then over to Cardano mainnet. It's going to be a really interesting space coming up in 2022 as a lot of those things get rolled out. And with you guys building some really cool utility and tools within your own DEX, it's going to be absolutely amazing to have that trading experience through MuesliSwap. So it's going to be absolutely awesome.
And another thing that's coming up that I forgot about a second ago is that we are also currently working on a complete redesign of our DEX. So we are working together with different external agencies and so on to kind of do a graphic overhaul of the entire web page. So I hope that also helps to maybe attract new users and let it look a little bit more appealing.
Very cool. Lots of things ticked off on your list. Well, it's been absolute pleasure, guys, having you back on the podcast, talking about all these cool things that you're doing, one on Milkomeda, two on your mainnet version of the DEX as well, and learning more about all that as well and what's coming in the future. So absolutely awesome to hear. And thank you so much for coming back on the podcast again.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Now, before you get to DeFi, please make sure that you are aware of the risks that are involved in playing around with the DEXs. There's impermanent loss. You can put in all this liquidity and it could go down in value because of various trading pairs and movements in the market as well. So the price fluctuations, movement on your trading pair liquidity pools, and it can really affect your balance. So please be aware of that and understand what you're getting into before you actually jump in and provide liquidity on any of these decentralized exchanges. They do have their risk involved with them. Now, out of full disclosure, I didn't get paid. I'm not being paid by the MuesliSwap team for this video interview. It's purely an educational piece and an update for you guys in the community. I do hold a little bit of milk tokens, about 33 milk tokens, I think, at the moment. So not a huge amount. But if you really enjoy this content, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on the notification bell, and you'll hear more from me soon. See you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.